He's a terror expert, very familiar with the group claiming, in this case, responsibility for these attacks. Bob, what do you know about this group?
Well, Neil, in September, Deccan Mujahideen issued a public warning that they were going to attack targets in Mumbai. There are those in the industry who believe that this is part of an umbrella group called the Indian Mujahideen, very serious, deadly action group, and that group's been around a while now. We just have to wait and see how this sorts out.
All right, now, about the way this group strikes, it's a global group, I'm told. They have branches or networks everywhere. Does that raise fears to you about coordinated attacks or attacks elsewhere, or are they particularly strong in India? What?
They're extremely strong in India. Now, India has 175 separate terror groups. What's important to understand here, Neil, is not cells. We're talking 175 separate groups, and that's according to a study released by the Indian intelligence services just this year. Just several weeks ago, I was in Mumbai on a counterterrorism training mission at one of the five-star hotels there in town, and which, of course, shall remain nameless here. They don't need any extra attention. But Mumbai is absolutely infested, like so many of the other areas of India, with this huge variety of terror groups.
And it's a variety that resents the sort of Western emergence of India becoming a power, right? They not so much resent as much as loathe. I mean, it's quite palpable, isn't it?
It really is palpable, Neil, and it is a visceral level of hatred. And this demonstrates, again, the importance of people getting hostage survival training. Now we've got a hostage situation there, and what it's tied into, we're going to have to wait and see. This is a situation in India that is out of control, and a lot of these groups do want to bring India to its knees because of its connections in the proverbial global economy. As you mentioned earlier, India is now an economic juggernaut, and there are some groups who, quite obviously, with the events of today in Mumbai, of course, once called Bombay, that they're serious about doing incredible damage.
You know, Bob, there is a point to this. My question will at first sound callous, but there is a point, if you'll bear with me. On the lower right portion of our screen, we're showing how much the Dow Jones Industrials moved up today. They doubled their gain when these reports first came out. And part of the argument was, well, they were up on the president-elect picking what seems to be a very impressive economic team. It was that despite all our problems and disarray and financial crises in this country, we are stable in this country. Terror isn't as a big a fear in this country. I'm wondering if they got ahead of themselves. I wonder if they are not whistling past the graveyard here, but assuming that this is not still very much a potential American issue. What do you make of that?
Well, you have to look at it that way as well. I mean, it's up the Dow is up 247 points at the moment, and we'll have to see how the Asian markets react. But when you consider what their primary targets are, and as was stated earlier on Fox, these are blatant economic attacks, just like the 9/11 attacks were, Neil. And these attacks, although well coordinated, were frankly quite easy to pull off. When hotels in places like India or where have you, even in America, do not conduct vulnerability assessments with outside eyes. In other words, bring people in who have been in the counterterrorism field, spec ops operators who have been there for a long time and do this for a living now. Well, you're opening the door to them. It didn't have to be anything particularly technical in regards to the attack methodology. They walked in with some form of explosives into these places and with automatic weapons. You don't need an airplane. You don't even need a truck bomb like we saw at the Marriott in Islamabad.
I was just going to raise that. And you know, an interesting point, Bob, you always raise so many good ones, but one that I thought of is, you know, in free Western societies and very successful economic ones too, all of the above applied to India and particularly to Mumbai, there is less of a likelihood you'll get over-aggressive because part of being free and open is being free and open, right?
Well, that's right. And what we have to do is find that common ground where we can increase our security and then maintain that level while always trying to build and using good intel. Intel is the key to this, as well as training at places that are potential high-casualty targets. If you don't bring in the training and get the vulnerability assessments done, you don't teach people about hostage survival, which is a very, very learnable skill, then this is the result.
All right, Bob, let me ask you something here. We're just getting word that 9 terrorists have been arrested in Mumbai, probably taken out of this hotel they were holed up in. Steer me through what happens now. They're questioned aggressively, to put it mildly. You're looking for what? Their links, who they're talking to, what? What are you doing?
Right. The first thing you do is separate all of the captives that you have, and then you begin what's called the proverbial enhanced interrogation techniques. And I'll tell you right now, these guys are not being treated with kid gloves. They are under extreme physical and mental duress via the Indian security services, and they're looking for intel that's going to lead them to what else is going to happen, if anything, in regards to planned attacks for the rest of the day today and in the extreme near future. And then you try to tie it in using your intelligence services to where do they receive their funding, where do they receive their training, who are the cell leaders, and so on. And you'll see that this is going to come out absolutely just like an octopus. You just keep following the tentacles, and as you go from tentacle to tentacle, hopefully you get to the body, and that's where you put the pinch on them.
Do you worry that Americans just don't obsess over it? They see these images we're showing right now, Bob. They hear in New York there's a heightened terror alert for the subway system. But they figure, what, it's been so long since we were attacked. We've got banks to worry about, and debts and deficits to worry about, and mortgages to worry about. So we're not worried about this. What do you say?
Well, it's societal and institutional complacency, isn't it, Neil? Because we start to drop our guard a little bit. But we're in a different situation here in America somewhat in regards to the total number of cells. Now, a couple of years ago, the director of the FBI, Bob Mueller, did say under sworn testimony before a congressional committee, a subcommittee, that Hezbollah does have cells here, and they're to act as, of course, the fifth column in case we join with Israel and do something about Iran. So we look at it that way, but we don't have 175 separate terrorist groups. We have some cells operational, especially in the reconnaissance phase of their operations, looking for what could possibly be attacked. But we've got an awful lot of people who are talking right now to Indian intelligence, and this intel will be shared.
All right, Bob Newman, thank you, as always, for your insight.
My pleasure.
It is invaluable.